In this tutorial, we're going to take a look at the divisibility rules for 8. Now, a number is divisible by 8 if the number's last 3 digits are divisible by 8. Now, since 2 times 4 is 8, we can use the divisibility rules for 2 and 4, but it's not as simple as if it's divisible by 2 and it's also divisible by 4, it's going to be divisible by 8, because you see, 2 and 4 have a common factor. Okay, they're both divisible by 2, so it's not quite that simple, but we'll use those in some of these examples. I'm going to do a few examples here, and 2 or 3 examples here, and 2 more on the next page. So the questions, of course, are the following numbers divisible by 8? So 1248 is the first one. Now the last 3 digits, the only digits we really need to look at are the 2, 4, and 8, so 248. And I would know that that's divisible by 8, even though it's in the hundreds, because you see, if I divide the 24 by 8, 8 goes into that evenly 3 times, or into 240 30 times, and it goes into the 8 as well evenly. See, I'm kind of doing this in my head, but I would be doing 24 divided by 8. Okay, that's 3, and the 8 on the end divided by 8 is 1. So, so the answer would be 31. Okay, if I took 248 and divided it by 8, because the 8's going into 240, this 3 actually means 30 times, and 1 more makes 31. So that's how I would know that that is divisible by 8. Okay, so since 248 is divisible by 8, that means that 1248 must be divisible by 8, because we just looked at the last 3 digits. It's the only ones you have to look at. So 6,746. The last 3 digits are the 746. Now, so I can't use the rule not quite as easily as what I did here, because like 8 doesn't go into 74 evenly. So if you start looking at the rules for 2 and 4, see, this certainly is an even number because it ends in a 6, so it's divisible by 2. But if you look at the divisibility rule for 4, see, there's a 46 in the end. Now, the 46 is not divisible by 4. So the fact that that part, the last 2 digits, are not divisible by 4 means it's not going to be divisible by 8. So you see, in order for something to be divisible by 8, it has to be divisible by 4, and in addition to that, the result from that by 2 as well. So if it's not divisible by 4, it's not going to be divisible by 8. Okay, so next number, is 7,968. So we really only have to look at the 968, and that's not quite as simple in your head to divide that by 8. So the question is 968 divisible by 8? So what I'm going to do is look at the if we were to divide it by 2, and I'm kind of just doing this mentally, so this is what I would be thinking. Half of the 900 part is 450, and half of the 68 is 34. So if I add those 2 halves, the 450 and the 34, that's 488. So that's basically half of the 968. And I know that 968 is divisible by 2 because there's an even number in the end. Now, so I know it's divisible by 2. This is the result of dividing that by 2. So it's really just to look at the 488 now and see, is that divisible by 4? The last 2 digits, the 88 or 88, would be divisible by 4, because you see 4 goes into 8 twice and this twice. So it would be 22 if we were to divide it by 4, sorry. So since 968 is divisible by 2 and half of that is also divisible by 4, then that means that the original 7,968 must be divisible by 8. Okay, so D example on the next page, 15,748. So the last 3 digits are the 748. So the question is 748 divisible by 8? So I'm going to do that the same thing I tried with the last one. So half of the 700 part would be 350, and half of the 48 part would be 24. So if I add the 2 half parts, the 350 and the 24, sorry, I get 374. So see, 374 is half of the 748. So I've already divided it by 2. So the question is now, is 374 going to be divisible by 4? So the divisibility rule for 4 is you look at the last two digits, the 74. And 74 isn't divisible by 4. And this is how I would know that. So if I think of 74, multiples of 4 that I know are things like 80. Okay, I know that 80 is a multiple of 4 because it's 20 times 4. And you see, if you sort of count backwards, 4 lower than that would be 76, and 4 lower than that would be 72. And let's go back to my pen here. See, 74 is in the middle. It's between 72 and 76. So that's a multiple of 4. That's a multiple of 4. So 74 wouldn't be a multiple of 4 because it's in between two multiples of 4 that I'm aware of. So that means that because it's not also divisible by 4, that means that the 15,748 isn't divisible by 8. Okay, last one, 25,032. Now the last three digits are just the 32. Well, it's 032, which is really just 32. And you see 32, I know that 32 is a multiple of 8. It's 8 times 4. So because I know that the last three digits are a multiple of 8 or are divisible by 8, then that means the whole number 25,032 must be divisible by 8. And that's the end of the tutorial.